Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today is the woman who knows how to set personal boundaries, Alex Standy. This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
We have not heard from Daniel today, so we're not quite sure whether he's going to drop in. He might not. I mean, that's kind of par for the course with Daniel. But if he does, that'll be great. We'll get a chance to catch up with him. But we do have a special guest joining us today. His name is Edwin Carrion. And Edwin is a self-made millionaire who did it in real estate. Actually, he described himself as a God-made millionaire. We'll get to that in a moment. But he has quite an interesting background because he started with military service. And then after military service, he managed companies, did a bunch of stuff, and succeeded in a big way. And we always like success stories around here. So we're going to get to know him a little bit. But first things first, my co-host Alex Standy is standing by. And Alex, we were chatting before we got started there that you are on the mend, first of all. I know listeners have been wondering about that. So we're glad that you're on the mend. And
Thank you, listeners.
Your mom had a bit of an event this past week, but apparently she's recovering from that. So you've been through some trying times, but it looks like you're kind of on the upward swing at this point.
Aren't I always, though?
Well, you are, yeah. And then we wonder, like, well, wait a minute, what happened to Alex? So that's why I'm asking.
Just taking it one day at a time and doing the best I can. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, that's all we can ever do. It's very true. So. All right. Well, let's introduce our guest, Edwin Carrion. Like we said, he's a self-made millionaire. He made his millions, I believe, in real estate. He's going to tell us that story in more detail. And one of the things that I noticed about him right off the bat as we were meeting him before the show is you can tell he's going to have stories that are all about how he went after stuff, but he does it in a very relaxed way. And that's the part I'm going to be curious about, is finding out what's the personality behind the guy who's a go-getter. So, Edwin Carrion, first of all, thank you for joining us on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you for having me. And to everybody out there, welcome to the show.
There you go. I love it. All right. So you got to give us the potted biography here. So, in 3 to 5 minutes, tell us who Edwin Carrion is and how he got started and how he got to where he is.
Good. Edwin Carrion, how you doing? I'm Edwin Carrion, and I'm not a self-made millionaire. Let me rephrase that.
Okay.
I am a God-made millionaire. And the reason I say God-made millionaire is because I know that I am where I am today is because my almighty God, which I give glory to. And I used to say that I was a self-made millionaire. And then when I used to say that, I lost everything. I went bankrupt. So I realized that I cannot do things on my own, that I have to give glory to God because he is my number one in my life. And I don't really like it. So that's number one. Number two, I'm a loyal husband, been married for 11 years. Super happy that I found the woman of my dreams.
Hooray!
The one that makes me a better man every single day. And thanks to her, she gave me my biggest dream. She made my biggest dream come true, which is give me 2 beautiful daughters.
Oh,
in family and life, I could tell you that I'm very successful. I'm very happy because I have an amazing family, an amazing wife, an amazing support team that treat me like a king. And, you can't have that better than that. That's on my side. On my business side, I'm a person that worked hard my whole life, struggled a lot, went through failures, went through backstabbings, and always keep moving forward. Always keep moving forward with a positive attitude, happy about life, forgiving everybody else that did me wrong along the way, and just, fulfilling my dreams and my childhood dreams at the same time, meaning that fulfilling everything that I wanted to have in my life. I'm coming to the point now that I have an amazing life, and I'm very blessed for that.
That's a wonderful thing. I love, too, the way that you tied your family into that. The way I interpreted what you were saying there is to understand that for you, success was much more than just about money. Success was about an entirely abundant life in all areas, in all the areas that are important to you, which is something we talk about a lot here. So that warmed my heart, and I'm sure it warmed a lot of listeners' hearts as well. The other thing too is, I touched on it earlier, but tell us about how the military background played into all this, because that's where it all kind of started, didn't it?
Yes and no. So the military started when I was 19 years old. And the reason I went to the military was because when I was 18 years old, I was hanging around with the wrong crowd. And you know where the story goes, probably, right? Hanging around with the wrong crowd, doing the wrong things. I got arrested, and since I was the oldest one of my family, meaning the first one that kind of graduated high school, coming from Ecuador, to me that was like detrimental in my life that I got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not afraid of sharing that. And when that happened, I'm like, I need to change my life around. I need to do something good, and that's why I joined the Marines.
Okay. And what did the Marines do? I mean, everybody has a different story about how the Marines or the Army or Navy or whatever they join does something that helps them to the next stage of their life. But in your case, what was that particular thing that it did for you?
To me, instill some amazing values that I carry until today in everything that I do in my life, which is honor, courage, and commitment. That's number one. Number two, he opened my eyes to the world. I was able to travel, and I was able to do what only maybe like the 2 or the 3% of the Marines get to do. Everybody else does the same thing. I was able to do what only a few of the Marines get to do, which is travel the world pretty much the whole time I was there and train with the DEA, FBI, CIA, guard the American embassies. I was able to do special duties, get a top secret clearance. I was able to enjoy life my time. I was not in a military base in the United States with thousands of Marines. I was with an elite group of Marines, traveling the world, experiencing new things, and realizing that the United States is one of the best countries in the world.
And so I guess you were basically demonstrating that the recruitment posters are actually correct in some cases. You do get to see the world.
I did get to see the world. Yes, I did.
That's fabulous. I love that. So you how long were you in, first of all? How long were you in your military career?
I was in 4 years and a half active duty and another 4 years reservist.
Okay. All right. And then after you got out, you decided to do what?
After I got out, or prior to getting out, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. 22 years old, getting out of the military, had no idea what I wanted to do. Like it happens to a lot of young kids. Mm-hmm. 22, you're trying to figure out your path in life. Being surrounded by federal agencies, I decided that the military wasn't for me. So I'm like, what I'm going to do is I'm either going to go to the FBI, the CIA, but in order to do that, I needed to go to college and get a college degree. So the first thing I had was, okay, I'm going to get out, go to college, get a degree so I could go back into the federal government. But then my mom goes to me, he's like, you should become a developer. So I'm like, what's a developer? I had no idea what a developer was, right? So I'm trying to think how, when you mention developer, everybody probably thinks right now is like either a coder, right? Like a web developer or something like that. And no, what she meant is like become a real estate developer. And the reason she told me that was because she had clients that they do real estate and they do real estate development. And she realized, what a lucrative business it is. So I left the Marine Corps and I started becoming a real estate developer.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about that adventure, because that is an adventure, especially if you're entering a field that you didn't even know what it was before you got into it.
It's an amazing field. When you look back now, when I look back and I realized all the amazing things that I was doing. While I was working at that time, I didn't realize, the impact that I was making. But nowadays I do. So going back to that, I left the Marine Corps. I didn't know how to build a house. I didn't know what development was. So I had to learn everything on my own. The technology that we have nowadays, the access to people that we have nowadays is so much better. That it's so much easier to become a developer, to do anything in life. Back then, it was a lot harder. I'm talking about, when I said back then, I'm talking about 2002, okay? So it's like 20 years ago. And got out of the Marines, didn't have any money, was broke. My mother took a line of credit on her house, and she let me borrow $100,000.
Wow.
I started with that. So turned those $100,000 to over $20 million in real estate projects in a matter of 4 years.
Wow.
That's bananas.
But I was very young. I wasn't that smart yet. And I wasn't ready to have all that money in me. And I was cocky. And I used to say that I was a self-made millionaire. So 2007 comes around. Everybody told me, be careful, be careful, be careful. I chose not to listen to anybody. And the recession killed me. When it killed, I went bankrupt. I lost everything. I had nothing to show for. All those 5 years of hard work, all those 5 years of bad relationships, all those 5 years of not taking care of myself healthy, all those 5 years of walking away from my faith in God, for focusing in the money, I lost them all. Everything was gone because I was focused into the money and trying to achieve this thing that I thought was success, and it was a good life.
2008 was a watershed year for a lot of people. It was for myself as well. Not that I wasn't in real estate. I wasn't in mortgages. I wasn't in any of that. I was a web developer for small nonprofit organizations.
Yes.
But because the financial crisis basically wiped them out, they wiped me out of business instantly. So there was a lot of fallout all across the board.
Exactly.
And a lot of people experienced real challenges during that time. One of the things that has come out of the conversations I've had with so many people who endured really rough times during that time is how much they learned from it. And it sounds like that's part of your story as well.
That is one of my biggest blessings. I mean, the first things that I learned was that I needed to be humble, that I needed to be who I always was, a humble person, a giving person, somebody that wants more in life, that still wants to succeed, that still wants the success, but I'm really focusing on myself, taking care of myself and realizing that, if we focus on one thing too much, anything in excess is too much. So how do I live life? How do I enjoy my life? And that's why I always say enjoy life to the fullest. That's what, like my motto when you hear me on my social media channels, I always say live life to the fullest. And the reason I always say that is because I didn't live life to the fullest when I was going through that. So then I'm like, you know what? Now I need to enjoy my life because I just lost 5 years of my life and I had nothing to show for. I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm going to figure out and I'm going to do everything that I want to do. I'm going to work out. I'm going to get in good shape. I'm going to get closer with my relationship with God. I'm going to find the girl of my dreams. And I'm just going to focus in my life. I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to focus on making myself happy. But at the same time, I'm still going to work and continue with my work ethic, but having a balance in my life so I could have success in all areas of my life. And pretty much that's exactly what I did. And not long after that, maybe like 6 months after going bankrupt, a good opportunity came my way. And one of my friends from the Marines comes to me. It's like, Edwin, I got a good business opportunity. Do you have any money? I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'm broke. But to him, out of my mouth, I'm like, yeah, how much do you need? I'm like, I wasn't about to pass on a good business opportunity, right? So when he talks to me about the gold buying business, I love the business model. So within a month, I was able to raise $300,000 from family and friends.
Wow.
And I got into the jewelry business. That's how I got into the gold buying business. In less than 2 years, we had 14 stores throughout the United States. We had a franchise model, so we were selling franchises, and I was only working 5 hours per week. I was enjoying life.
That's the life.
You said that was the life, Alex?
Yep, that's what I said.
That was the life.
It does sound like the life. Let's take a step back and address that a little bit further, because I think you made a very important point. Let's see, how did you say it exactly? The gist of it was you want to live life to the fullest. I think that's the phrase you used.
Yes.
And on the surface, that seems obvious. But one of the things that we have learned here on this show is how it's not so obvious, that there are a lot of different ways to do that. Different people are going to have different ideas of what a full life is.
Yes.
And they're going to have different ideas about why it's important. So let's start with the second question first. Why is it important to live your life to the fullest, in your opinion?
To me, it's important for the fact that if something were to happen to me today and I was if I'll be laying on my deathbed, I could look back and instead of saying, I should have done this, I should have done that, I could have done this, I could have done that, what I'm going to say is, you know what? What an amazing life I had. My God, what a ride. Like, I did everything that I wanted to do. I had everything that I wanted to have. I was blessed with, from the material things to the things that I wanted to have, which was, I wanted to have daughters. In my life, I never wanted to have sons. And I have 2 daughters. So imagine what a life that was for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fabulous. And then, okay, so now that you've understood and explained the why, then let's talk about the what, how that happened, and how you decide what steps you decide to take in order to achieve that. Because you define it in terms of the business, and to a certain extent, you've talked about it in terms of, well, you found the girl of your dreams, you had your daughters, but talk about it some more. Talk about how you have developed that full life for yourself.
Okay. So the how is really cool that I like to say that. And, I think I've been building that up my whole life, but now with all these things that have come out, and the reason I love your show a lot is because, you talk about abundance, you talk about mindset, you talk about the law of attraction, right? So when I got introduced to The Secret, to the law of attraction, to the movie, it was powerful to me to know that, my God, I've been practicing these things my whole life, going back into like my dream car. My dream car was to have a Lamborghini. And since I was a little child, I used to have like this Lamborghini car. And I always used to say, one day I'm going to have this car. I never said, I wish I could have this car. For me, my mind was always manifesting, one day I'm going to have this. One day I'm going to have this. One day I'm going to have this, right? And then sure enough, I had a few of those already. And it was manifesting that in my life. So when I realized was, okay, how do you manifest everything in your life? It's being conscious and being specific with the things that you want, and not having them in my head, but having them in front of me so I could visualize. And because, when you have things, you say, I would like this. It's in your head for a second, but then out of sight, out of mind, right?
Sure.
But if I had the car for me, since I had the car for, since I was a little kid for many years, like to me, that was ingrained in my head. So I will always envision that was the car that I was going to have. So with the law of attraction, I realized that, again, we need to put everything in writing. We need to put everything, present everything, create that vision board, right? And I created a vision board. So the moment that I created a vision board, right after that, all my dreams came true, because I realized that it was in front of me. It was in my sight. That beautiful woman, very detailed, beautiful woman, godly woman from Colombia that speaks perfect English. My wife was born here from Colombian family, and she's gorgeous. The kids, I want to have 2 kids. I want to have 4 kids, and I want them to be just girls. Again, I had 2 beautiful girls, because then after the second one, we decided no more kids. The dream house. I had my dream house. It's just like in a movie. I was able to get the dream house, the exact same house that I wanted. I got to live in that house. So it's amazing how those things happen, that when you start being conscious about the things that you want in your life, they come about.
Why do you think it is that there are, and this is true for many people who have been exposed to things like The Secret, law of attraction concepts, and so forth, why is it that so many people have trouble getting the things that they want in their lives?
Now, well, number one, I said, is because out of sight, out of mind. But number 2 is because they're expecting for those things to fall on their lap. So there's a process to that too. You can't expect things to fall in your lap just because you envision it and you want it, it's going to fall in your lap. There's some work involved into it, and everything in life, it takes work. And what happens is that people are now willing to put in the work. People are now willing to be committed to the things that they want in their life. The moment that they see a little bit of stress, a little bit of struggle, they walk away. They're like, this is not for me. This is too hard. And in life, we have to realize that there's ups and downs. And, the lower that we go, the higher that we're going to bounce back.
The lower that we go, the higher we're going to bounce back. That's a really interesting and very important concept, isn't it?
That's deep when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because, you can't help but bounce higher when you've gone that low.
Exactly. So if you really think about it, to put that into perspective, think about stocks. If you go back 30 years on the stock market and you put that on a line chart, this is what it does.
Mm-hmm.
Up and
It goes
down,
down, and it goes back up really high, and it goes down, it keeps going down, it goes back up. It's always up and down, up and down. Compare that to the housing market. Compare that to your relationships in your life. You always have ups and downs, right? There's moments that when your first boyfriend, you were like all the way up here because, that was like the love of your life. And then they broke your heart and they leave you. Then, you're sad. And then if you meet somebody else, now you're happy again. So it's up and down. So that's what life is about, ups and downs. So it's how do we bounce back when we're down? And I think that's the most important thing that we have to realize. It's like we take those moments that are down, we take those as learning lessons, as learning opportunities, and we make sure we do not make the same mistake. So the next time we're on the way down, we don't go that low.
Yeah, you're talking about how do you respond to adversity?
Yes.
And how do you respond to adversity? How does Edwin Carrion do that?
I just learned to have a risk of tolerance, meaning that I know things are going to happen. I know there's always bad things that are going to happen, right? But I tend to focus on the positive things and how do I adapt and overcome to those problems that come along the way. What is it that you do? How do you react to that? Am I going to let that consume my life? Or I'm just going to put it off to the side and just focus on the solution?
Do you recall any times when you found it difficult to do that? Even though you said, okay, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to focus on the what I want instead. You were determined to do it, but somehow you couldn't get yourself there. Have you had experiences like that? And how did you get out?
A lot of times in my life, I'll tell you, be married for 11 years, it's hard to live with somebody else that is different from you. And the first thing, when times get tough, a lot of people just walk away. Like, you know what? I'm walking away. And there's times in my life with my wife that it got to the point that, in my head comes like, you know what? Just walk away, divorce, walk away. But then again, it's like, you know what? No, I can't take this right out. This is the easy way of doing things. And that's why everybody gets divorced. It's like, you know what? I committed to something. I need to be committed. Now I need to figure out, as a business guy, what would I do in business? In business, I will figure out the way to make it better. So here I got to figure out, you know what? What is it that I'm doing wrong? Let me fix it so like that my marriage gets stronger and becomes better. So it's not walking away. It's always staying committed and figuring out, that dropping everything and walking away is not the easy part. And everybody takes the easy route because those problems are going to follow you in everywhere you go. And that's the same thing in business. If you walk away from your business when the times are tough, the next one is that you're going to have the same problems over and over again because you never found the solution or how to overcome that.
Yeah, that's one of those really annoying things in life, isn't it? You don't address something, and so it just keeps coming back. I'm going to keep haunting you until you deal with me.
That's how it works.
It just keeps coming back and coming back, yeah. And how you're going to respond to that is certainly what's going to drive the results. When you think about how you have dealt with things as they've come up in your life, and you compare them to, say, the way you did before you went into the military when you were still, unaware about how the world worked. So you're kind of thinking back to your own growth curves, so to speak. What I'm really addressing here is the work that you've done on yourself over time throughout your life. As you look back on that growth curve, that series of times, series of incidents where you've done work on yourself, what do you think is the most important work that you've done? Like, what do you change about yourself that has actually made the biggest differences?
The biggest one has been investing in myself, meaning that investing in my personal growth, investing in me, in my personal growth, in my mindset. The mindset is the biggest one out of all that I could tell you. Mindset has been a huge one. And giving you examples of that, growing up, I thought I wasn't smart. I always said to myself, I'm not smart. And the reason I used to tell myself that I wasn't smart enough was because while I was coming through school, I was always a CD student. And when you get those low grades, and even there was a point in my life that I really tried, like, for example, in math, it was like those weird math, geometry or whatever. And I tried it, and I'll still fail. So it got to the point that, take the easy route. I just quit, get to school, put my head on the desk, and I'm done with this. So when I went to college, when I left the Marines, I was getting A's and B's. And the reason that was because since I was paying out of my own pocket to pay myself through college, I made sure that I paid attention and I made sure that I did the work that I needed to do. While I was growing up, my mom was paying for my school, so I didn't give any value to that. And when we don't value things, they're not as important as they are to us. So mindset has been a huge one for me, that investing in myself, investing in my mindset, because our mindset gets to a ceiling. And if we want to continue growing, we have to make sure that we elevate our mindset, our way of thinking.
And when you talk about investing in yourself, you mean in every way, don't you? You mean to invest in yourself financially, to put your money on the line, so to speak, and to invest in your time in yourself, and to invest your effort in yourself and your focus on yourself. I mean, you invest everything. It's not just, you're not just throwing money at it. You're not just spending a bunch of time on it. You're throwing everything at it.
Yes, exactly. Time, money, effort. And when I say investing yourself with time, meaning hiring the right mentors, hiring people, going to conferences, going to seminars, reading books, like, expanding your mind, figuring out, if I want to get here, if I want to have a successful marriage, who do I need to hang around with in order for my marriage to be successful? Because if I start hanging around with a bunch of single guys, my marriage is not going to go the right way, right? So I need to figure out and find the guys that aspire me, not inspire me, because the guys that aspire me, the guys that I want to aspire to be like. And the same thing in business, what do I want my business to get to? What do I want my net worth to be? And what do they do? How do I do it? Can I hire a mentor that could teach me and take me that route? And the reason I'm in front of you today, I'm speaking to you today and delivering this message to everybody else is because my mentor that's taking me from a business guy to becoming a guy that shares his knowledge with everybody so I could impact as many people told me, you need to get as many podcasts as you can. And I'm here because of him. Without him, I would never be on this platform. I would have never known that I needed to do this.
Well, we have to thank him then. So thank you, Edwin's mentor, for getting him here. We appreciate that very much. That's a wonderful thing. So let's talk about mentors for a second, because that's obviously a very key portion of what you were talking about.
Yes.
And the first question that always comes to my mind whenever we talk about a mentor is, how do you select a mentor?
Values. I think to me, one of the biggest lessons throughout life is that you have to pick the people that are aligned with your values. And if you don't pick somebody that's aligned with your values, there's no point of working with them because they're going to take you to a different route. And then eventually you're going to realize that that is not who you are.
So in other words, if you select a mentor who has the same or similar values to your own, that mentor is much more likely to take you on the path to where you wanted to be rather than to some other place.
That is correct. So that's number one. Values is number one. So I think for me, very important, values is number one. Number two is hire a mentor that is or has been where you want to get to. So, if I want to take my business to the $1 million, I'm not going to hire a mentor that's never have done business. Business coach that never own a business. I'm not going to hire a coach that he has never taken his company to $1 million. So I have to make sure that I hire somebody that has been or is above or where I want to get to.
And how do you find your mentors?
How do I find my mentors? That's a good question. Number one, it's like, again, it goes back with attraction, right? With the law of attraction. So with my mentor on the speaking side, he mentored me many years ago, back in 2014. He was my mentor in 2014. We always kept in touch. And I see the quality of person that he is. He shares my same values. He has done everything that I want to do now. So to me, that's the perfect mentor. But when I started looking for mentors on the public speaking side, on growing my coaching business and teaching people how to live life to the fullest and become successful, that was one. On the business side, I have had a lot of mentors, and I still have a lot of mentors. Again, that are very successful, and each one teaches me a different thing in business and build relationships with them. And that's how I find them. Just come around. And again, you just pick the ones that you could relate to, that you share your values, and they are where you want to get to.
Do you approach them to be a mentor, or do they approach you?
There's different types of mentors in life. So there's some mentors that you approach to them and you tell them, look, I want to pay you for mentorship. And there's some mentors that you build a relationship with, and they become your mentors in life because you want to be like them. So I have a very good friend of mine that we started as, I hired him to franchise my company back in 2010 or 2010, 2011. And an amazing family guy, been married for 30 years. And to me, he's my mentor. And I tell him, you're my mentor. I look up to you. I want to be like you when I grow up, because he is the person that I aspire to be like. And, it's a mentor that we built a friendship from business, built a friendship. From friendship, he became a very good friend of mine, and he's my mentor in life because that's a person that I aspire to be like.
As you were describing that person in particular, a thought came to my mind that I haven't thought about in a while, although we've talked about it here on the show a number of times. And that is the distinction that, well, there are a variety of distinctions that people talk about or think about when they think about mentors versus coaches. And I'm wondering, when you think of those two words, are they similar to you? Are they different? How are they similar? How are they different?
I think, Alexa, you had a question too, right?
I did. So, well, not a question so much as a statement. I like the fact that you make it a point to say that you hire your mentor, because a lot of people want to get into certain businesses and they want, oh, how did you do that? Well, give me all your knowledge for free. And it's like, respect the fact that I have knowledge and pay me accordingly. So I like the fact that you talk about hiring your mentor.
Yes. And thanks for bringing that up, because with the same thing with you, Walt, is the example that I made a minute ago, right? When I went to school, my mom paid for it. I didn't value it. So when you get a free mentor, you're not going to value it. And it happened to me personally that when I had my first business, I had so many of my friends ask me, how did you do it? How did you make so much money? What do you do? And I'll give them the blueprint. A through C. I did this, and this. Do this, and that. Out of 100 people that I told them, one of them did it. And one of them is successful today because of that. Okay? Because they didn't value. The free information wasn't a value to them. But nowadays, every person that I mentor, that they pay me, and I make sure it hurts them when they pay me, they take the value. Because you know what it is to invest so much money into something that you want to do, that the moment that they invest all this money, we're like, you know what? This is costing me a lot of money. I got to make sure that I do what Edwin tells me. So that's the huge difference when you have a free mentor and a paid mentor. When you have a paid mentor, you're going to do. And that mentor, if he's really good, he's going to make sure that you are successful. And to me, the way that I mentor, and to me, I always look at all these mentors that are going out there. I'm not the one that sells a free course. Here's a course and go out and do it on your own. No, to me, I want people to be successful. And when when I mentor somebody, especially in real estate development, if I mentor you to become one of my students in real estate development, once you finish my program, I'm going to invest my own money with them. Why? Because I believe in what I teach, and I make sure that I'm setting them up for success. So if I'm setting them up for success, why wouldn't I invest my money with them, right? It's just, for me, it's called passive income.
Well, it's true. When you're an investor, that's exactly what it is. But let's get back to what I was raising before. I want to also get an answer on that. For you, mentor versus coach, what are the similarities? What are the differences?
English is my second language, so to me it means the same thing.
The same thing. Oh, okay.
It's like lemon and lime. I still can't get it right. It's been 30 years in the United States, so I still get those two confused. So coach, mentor, the same thing to me.
Same thing. Okay. Well, some people have a distinction, so that's why I raised the question. Some people, a coach is not necessarily the same thing as a mentor. I think probably the most common distinction that I hear is that a mentor is someone that you're trying to emulate, whereas a coach is the person who tries to get you there.
I don't know.
Indifference. Total indifference.
You want to call me mentor? You want to call me a coach? I'm going to get you there.
Yeah, either way, you're going to get there. Well, hey, that's bottom line. You want to get there. So how you get there,
the title doesn't matter. And that's what I learned in life. A title doesn't matter. I run a company. You could call me the janitor. You could call me whatever title you want to give me. As long as I'm making money and I'm taking that company to the billions, I'm happy with that.
Very cool. I like that. So let's talk a little bit too about, we've been talking about where you've come from and what you've gone through. Where are you headed? When you think about where you are right now, I mean, because that's when we go through life, we're never completely satisfied. The moment we're completely satisfied is when we're done with our life.
Yes.
So there's always something else. Where do you want to go next?
One of my biggest missions right now is, again, fulfilling my God's calling, which is to have people live life to the fullest, to teach people what is living life to the fullest. That's number one. But number two, impacting as many people as I can and spreading the word that, you can have a successful life. You can achieve your dreams. You can be successful, and teaching them by educating, by mentoring them, by being a coach, by being a speaker. And that's like my biggest mission right now, because, on the financial side, I'm very fortunate that I have accomplished and I have got to the point of financial freedom. So that's my biggest calling. And then besides that, again, is being the best father that I could be, since I was raised without a father. My biggest goal is, I want to be the most amazing father for my kids. So when they leave, I could be the best role model. So when they find the man, they have, their standards are so high that they are going to find the right man. And for my wife, just make sure that I am the best husband, especially growing up without a father. I didn't know my mother would never remarried to the right person while I was growing up. So I never knew what being a husband is, or what, being with somebody is. So always trying to become the best man that my wife could have.
That's a really important point you just raised there. And as you were saying that, it was reminding me of conversations that I had with my wife when we first met. We've been together 24 years now. And the very first year that we were together, she was telling me stories about how she didn't really know what a healthy marriage looked like. I mean, her parents had been together. It's not like they got divorced or anything like that, but they hid so much of it. And so all she ever saw was the very, very surface areas of the marriage. And when it came time later on to have her own relationships as an adult, she didn't know what a healthy relationship looked like, because she didn't know what it looked like with her parents. Exactly. You're hitting on something really important. So in your case, you did not have the advantage of having a father who could be there to be a model for you. And I'm sure Alex is kind of thinking to herself, yeah, I know what that's like. In your case, though, how did you deal with that? How did you learn what you needed to learn?
It's a learning process. Every day I learn something new. Every day I continue growing. Again, I have my biggest support is my wife. She teaches me so much of how to be there, how to be present, how to be a good dad. What to do, what not to do. So just kind of she's my mentor. She's my coach. Just following her advice to be the person that I want to be there. And also, making sure that they do have a relationship with God. And I think having God in our lives and having a godly family, I think that's what makes it better too, because, we're building that to them that, your values have to be number one before anything else. And then everything else will flow the way that you want it to flow. And that's the way it's been in my life.
Do you remember a time, perhaps when you were young, where you were first faced with the possibility, okay, I need to understand what it was that I'm missing, that not having a father has left me empty on, because I didn't have that example out there. And there are always going to be different feelings that everybody has about a situation like that, but you had your particular feelings. Do you recall anything about what you felt and whether or not you felt like you could actually learn what you wanted to learn? Because when we're faced with a void, we're often confused. Like, I don't know what to do with a void. Yeah. And that's kind of a void.
I always say, out of sight, out of mind, right? So growing up, my father left us when I was 5 years old, so I could barely remember that. So to me, I had so much love in my house. My mom was so good. We had my aunts, my uncle living with us. So we had so many like motherly and one fatherly figure growing up that I did not miss, having a father. And out of sight, out of mind, I never saw that. So I didn't really have anything to miss. Now that I'm an adult, that I have kids, I'm like, you know what? You tend to kind of, mature and understand, I was raised without a father. I don't want my kids to go through that, not knowing what not having a father is and things like that.
Well, apparently your uncle kind of gave you the role model that you needed where father came from. I mean, certainly.
On a way temporarily, yes. And things like, again, what to do, what not to do, and who to be and not to be. They back in Ecuador, they drink a lot. My uncle is not considered an alcoholic or a title that they put it here, but, Thursday starts around the corner, and, Thursday they're going out and they're drinking. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, they're drinking until Tuesday and Wednesday they have a break. So So it's a very different lifestyle growing up in Ecuador. Back then it used to be that way.
Well, that actually outlines very nicely where people can actually trip up. Because in your case, apparently you didn't. Apparently you didn't kind of go down that same path that he went down. But you could have, because if he was a major male role in your life.
An example.
That's right. He was a personal example to you. And yet you didn't go that way. Any idea why?
I know why. When I was in the Marines, and in the Marines too, you have that option. You have the option either to go the right way or the left way, right? And the left way is that, people will say all the military guys are drunks, they're parties, they do this. And it happens because a military base is in the middle of nowhere, and all you have around there is bars, strip clubs, and tattoo shops. So, you end up doing a lot of those things. So a lot of them end up in the wrong path where they become alcoholics because that's all there is to do. And especially you're 18 years old, you're getting paid, everything's getting paid for you, you're traveling here, you're traveling there. You tend to do a lot of that. So I was fortunate enough that when I got to Japan, I got surrounded by a good group of guys that they taught me how to have fun without having to drink. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think that was the biggest blessing that I had as well, that I was able to learn that I don't need to drink to have fun. A lot of people tend to think that they need to drink to have fun, and that's why they get into the drinking habit. And I learned that I could have so much fun without having to drink. I could go to clubs and dance all night without having to have one drop of alcohol. And that got me through that part. Yes, I do drink, just for the record, I do drink. But, I drink when I party, not because I have to, not because I want to. I just drink when I party and, and I choose to. And if I have one or two drinks, that's the most that I have. But again, the alcohol doesn't define who I am.
That's always a good thing. I'm also thinking too, you don't know this about Alex yet, but her husband Kenny is a tattoo artist. And so when you were mentioning the things that often happen in the military, Alex, that's the first question that came to my mind. Does that typify in any way the clientele that Kenny gets?
Oh, actual factuals. Yeah. We actually live near an Air Force base about a little far away. So yeah, we get a lot of military and a lot of patriotic tattoos, a lot of those.
I got one, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, we definitely give military discounts. So.
Right. Perfect.
Do you also see the other side that he was talking about? Because he kind of grouped tattooing in with the typical things that kids in the military end up doing. Do you see that side of that?
I don't know, because we don't work with a lot of the younger crowd. We work with people who have been in the military for like career services and just getting out in their 40s. Okay. You know what I mean? So
right.
Those are the more the clientele that we have. Okay. More laid back out here. It's not a base. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that would make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
That was just one, because I mean we've talked a little bit about Kenny getting the business going there, and you're trying to move into Rhode Island and other stuff like that. But we really hadn't talked much about the clientele. So that's why when Edwin was saying that, I said, oh, I wonder if that's like a clue. But no, it sounds like your clientele is a little bit different from the one he was talking about.
But that is one of the things that people say is like, oh, you're opening a tattoo shop. Well, make sure you go by the base and let everybody know. Yep. That's the first thing they say.
We're talking tattoo marketing 101 here, folks.
Yep. Word of mouth is everything.
Yes. Military base, police stations,
yep.
Firefighters, you got to go to all of those.
Yep. All first responders get discounts, everybody. Yep.
You know what it is that sense of pride that we get in the military, that, we want to make sure that we're engraved with that sense of pride forever. So to me, when I go out somewhere and I want to buy something and I ask them for military discount and I don't have my military ID, I'm like, do you want the card or you want the life ID? And hey, here's my life ID. Look, USMC, all of that. So,
yeah.
So, it's the pride. That's the pride that we have. That's the price that we paid, to become a Marine. Not everybody gets to have the title of being a Marine. So,
right.
We earned that title.
That's another interesting topic too. Let's kind of branch off very briefly on that one. The idea of earning the title of being a Marine? Because that's something that, especially in the Marine Corps, that's a big deal. I mean, all the branches of the military are proud. They're very proud of what they do and so forth. There's something about Marines. It's almost like they have a little extra. They're like one level up in pride.
We're the best. That's it.
But talk about that. Why is that so important?
The Marines. I mean, number one, we're the smallest branch service in the United States. So we're the one that has the less funding budget in the United States. So we get all the hand-downs for everybody. We're the smallest one, but we're the one that has the stricter training. So we have the longer training. Marines are all-terrain, so we do land, air, and sea. And versus the Air Force, they just focus on the air, the Navy on the water, the Army on the land. So we do all of those. And we're the first ones to go in and the last ones to go out when war happens. So we're the crazy ones.
That's great.
I presume we're using the word crazy in a good way here, though.
In an amazing way, yes. We're the top ones.
Which is fine. I use the word crazy in a good way all the time. So totally understand what you're talking about there. So, all right. So now we have an idea of where Edwin came from and where he is hoping to go. Let's talk about Edwin right now. Because right now, well, first of all, now is all we have, right? We live in the now at all times.
Always.
And when you're going through the kind of growth that you have talked about in your own life and that other people go through in their own lives, ultimately all that happens in the now anyway. So let's talk about why now is so important to focus on and what it is you can do the most in your now.
Okay. So why now is important to focus on? Because you have to be present. We only have one life and we only have so many hours per day. And the moment that hour passes by, we can never get that back. We can always make more money. We can always have another relationship. We can always change places. But the minute that we lose now, we're not going to get it back. So what is it with the time that we have today? Make sure that we take advantage of every single minute in our life. Are we grateful enough for everything that we have in our life? Maybe we're not at the place that we want to be, but am I grateful for what I have today? And that's important to me. And that's how I live my life. Live my life to the fullest by being present on today, being happy on what I have, being grateful for everything that I have in my life, and enjoying my life, going out, doing the things that I want to do that make me happy, working, being here with you guys makes me happy. This is something that I want to do because I'm sharing my time with you, and I know that in the future, 10, 15, 20 years from now, somebody's going to listen to this message, and it's going to hit them in a way, and it's going to impact their life. That's number one. Number two, spending time with my family and my kids. To me, that's so important because they asked me a good question in my mastermind, my personal mastermind meeting last year. They asked me a very important question that I never thought about. They asked me, what is it that you look forward to on the next 10 years? And what is it that you're afraid of in the next 10 years? So I started thinking about that.
Good question.
It's an amazing question because I started thinking about it. So I'm like, okay, 10 years in my life. I'm afraid of my daughter leaving the house because she'll be 18 years old, right? So when I thought about it, I'm like, my God, I don't want them to leave the house. I love my kids. I don't want them to leave the house. So since I was afraid of that, then I realized, okay, you know what? I need to make sure that every day counts. I need to make sure that I give them an amazing experience and an amazing memory because all they could take with them is memories. All the materials, things that I could give them, they're going to be gone. They lose it, they break it, it goes here. But if I could give them those memories, that's all they could take. So if I could create an amazing memory with my family every single day, I have accomplished my goal in life.
Well, that's an interesting way of looking at appreciation, at gratitude, as you termed it, because when you are talking about the gratitude, you're talking among other things about the gratitude associated with things you remember, things that you hold in your mind that have been important to you for some time, that are important to you right now, because we're talking about living in the now, and why they're so important and why you like them so much and why you're so appreciative about them, right?
Yes.
Because that's what drives it for you.
That's what
drives it for all of us.
Yes, going out on the boat, going out on the water, being out there. To me, that's one of my biggest passion. And as much as I could go out, I'll go out. And those are the things, working, building businesses. I love that. That to me is my passion, and it makes me happy. So again, if I'm able to make myself happy and be selfish for myself to make myself happy, then I can make everybody else around me happy.
That's a great ambition to have too, as well. One other thing I want to ask you is, like we were talking about earlier, there are times when we run into stuff that happens in life. Bad things happen, things we don't like happen. And those are the times when it's most challenging to find what we're grateful for, especially about the thing that happened. If the thing that happened was, this really nasty thing that happened, the last thing we want to do is be grateful for it. The last thing we want to do is say, well, yeah, I'm really glad that happened. So how do you handle that?
Look, let's talk about what just recently happened right now. So many kids, a guy walks into elementary school and all these kids, right?
Yeah, there's a good example.
So you're talking about, yes, can we be grateful for that? But what is it? We cannot be grateful for that. We have to be grateful for all the kids that survive. Well, there's a lot of them that that died, but there's so many more that survived, because I think that school they had 400 kids, right? We have to be grateful that it was limited to that, right? And then if we're believers in God, if we have a good faith, we have to be grateful that now they're in a better place, that they're not suffering, that now they are, in paradise, because we don't know where those kids come from. Maybe some of those kids, could have been abused. Maybe they could have lived in abusive families. So we don't know all the ins and outs. So to me, I think we need to live on a grateful state of mind and always be grateful for everything in our life, and don't question the things that happen, because things are going to happen. All the things are going to happen. But it's like, you know what? Just have faith and continue moving forward and just do the best that you can.
And look for what you can appreciate.
Yes.
I think that's probably the one thing that we miss most often when something terrible happens. We forget that we can still be looking for what we can appreciate. Like you said, we can't appreciate that a bunch of kids got killed. That's not something to appreciate. But there are things we can appreciate. We have to find them. And that's the hardest part when something really bad happens, finding them.
And there are reasons that go about that too, like we had our dog last year, and our dog passed away on December 24th. So you could imagine that. Our dog passing away on December 24th. Not this December, but the December prior to it, in front of my daughter. The dog was running in the yard, falls on the floor, passes out in front of my daughter. We don't know what happened, but that could have been a snake that could have bit my daughter, and it bit the dog instead of my daughter. And of course, my kids were devastated. I was devastated because we all treat dogs like family. And, for us, our dogs are our family. So my daughter started questioning, why did God do this? He didn't do this. Maybe he took care of you when something happened, or maybe he protected us from staying home that day, that if we would have gone out, something major could have happened. Something else could have happened to us. So again, it's kind of figuring out that, yes, we have to intake that pain, and it's okay to cry and just kind of mourn for that time. But within the mourning, just being grateful that we are alive, that we're still here because of, whatever other reason we're still here for.
So once again, what can I find that I really like about the situation? What can I appreciate? What can I be grateful for? And it's a mindset. That's what the real mindset is. It's where you're focusing on what you're trying to get to, what you're trying to appreciate, what you're trying to approach, rather than, because this is where I think we get hung up. We get hung up on the bad thing happened.
Yes.
The bad event, the bad experience. Once again, this terrible thing happened. Once again, and it's one bad thing after another. That's what hangs us up.
Yeah, and it happens, in business especially. You're starting out a business, or you have a business that you want to grow, and then there's times that, doesn't go the way you want, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going. And it's one thing after another one thing after another one. And you're like, when is this going to happen? Instead of focusing, what? My employees, at least I'm making ends meet. At least I'm getting the money that I need to make to pay all my employees. At least there hasn't been an accident. Just start focusing on the positive and figuring out, what is it that you need to do. And then just things turn around when you least expect it.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's exactly right. Well, in my own case, my listeners know this, but I run my wife's business. My wife started a gardening service and maintenance business, that we brought to Connecticut in 2014. And, it has succeeded very well, and it supports us, and we have had a lot of blessings that have come out of it. But we still, like everybody else, we run into challenges. And very recently, the big challenge was there's this big shift going on in the labor market. And so we were trying to adapt to that and adjust to it. And I just hired a whole bunch of people. I even told a story about this earlier in the week. At first, nobody was showing up for nobody was responding to my ads or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, they all showed up once I opened myself up. And then one of the people I hired ghosted me. I got ghosted. Like, he disappeared on me, and after making all these promises about how he was going to be there, I'll be there anytime you need me there, and he's just disappeared off the face of the planet.
It happens.
It happens.
Well,
so now the question is, how was I going to respond to it? And the way I did respond to it was saying, I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to lead to something better. And within minutes, not hours, not days, within minutes of coming to that conclusion, my VA contacts me and said, hey, we just had a call from somebody looking for a guarding position. You want to talk to her? So it comes down to what are we going to do?
It was the best. It was the best thing that could have happened to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how I chose to respond to it was going to drive what was going to happen next.
Yes.
Well, this has been a very good conversation. I've really enjoyed it. I think Alex has too. I'm sure our listeners have as well. So thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit more about how to reach out to you and find out more about you. Particularly if anybody, you mentioned that you do mentoring, you do paid mentoring. So if maybe there's somebody who's actually thinking, I should reach out to this guy. This guy he sounds like he could be a fit. He has the values I have. Maybe there's like a fit going on there. So yes. How do they find you?
Best way to find me is go to my website, edwincarrion.com. Through there, you're able to link through my social media channels. And if you sign up for the email, you're going to get a pamphlet that I put together, which is 9 Secrets of Funding Your Life and Business for Success.
9 Secrets of what is it again?
Of funding your life and business for success. 9
Secrets of Funding Your Life and Business Success, which ties in with what you were talking about earlier, investing in yourself. So it's the secret to how do you get the funds to invest in yourself. Yes. That's what you're talking about.
It's the secret of how do you fund your life? How do you put your life together so you have success in life and business?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's good. And that's a free book or
that's
a PDF?
That's a free ebook. Yes.
It's an ebook. Okay.
Yes.
Good. So anybody can take advantage and take a look at that. And assuming that, I'm going to just take it one step further and assume that they like what's in there so much that they want to reach out to you. So they can reach you through the website. Is that right?
They can reach me through the website. They can reach me through my social media channels.
Okay.
In my social media, I'm also under Edwin Carrion. Just add the 78 at the end because that's my favorite number.
Fair enough. So Edwin Carrion, 78, and that's where to find you on all the social media. So that's great too.
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you can find me there. And again, if anybody has a question, if anybody has something that they want to ask, just go ahead and ask. Feel free to reach out to myself, to anybody out there. And I think one of the biggest things that people tend to forget is that if we don't ask, we don't get. So just become an asshole. Just ask.
I love that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I got that from my mentor. I learned that from my mentor, so I took that to heart.
It's unforgettable too. That's the best part about it.
You'll never forget that. I'm stealing that. I'm so stealing that.
Oh, I love that. Edwin Carrion, thank you so much for joining us on the show. This has been a pleasure to talk with you, get to know your background, and man, we wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. And to everyone out there, remember, everyone changes, but not everyone improves. So make sure you're doing something to improve.
Beautiful. That's a great way to end it. And Alex, you keep improving too. We need you to be healthy, girl. So you keep going that way. All right.
All right. I'll try.
We love you. We love you so much. And we love all of our podcast listeners everywhere. Thank you so much for being listeners. Without you, hey, I wouldn't have a podcast. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.